Let's do it. So I'm going to do a quick share screen here, and hopefully you can see the presentation, and we'll kind of go from there. So are you all seeing that all right? Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you're seeing
Yeah,
that. Okay. All right,
I
here
see.
we go.
I see it.
Okay,
Goodbye.
perfect. Visual thumbs up is always a good thing. So fantastic. Well, first of all, thank you all for joining today, and I really want to especially thank Gary and 805 Startups for hosting this event. It's great that you all had a chance and to join the call, and we can spend a lunch hour together talking a little bit about probably one of the most important topics right now, which is navigating your business through COVID-19. And now, of course, is a very unpredictable and challenging time for all of us. And this is one of the ways that I've been helping to give back to the community. And it's part of my commitment to help businesses in the community, especially during this time. I know we probably have, as we talked about, we have a broad range of people on the call with different types of businesses. So that's great. And of course, despite how different we might be in the businesses that we have, there's one thing we all have in common, and that is our need to navigate this situation, and the importance of figuring out the way to do it. And so, today we're not gonna solve the problem, but we're gonna give you some important principles and ideas that hopefully can really make some impact on your thinking for your business and the things that you might be looking to do with your business. So and like Gary said, I welcome your questions and your comments as we go along here as well. So let's jump in just for a second about me. I'm actually a native of the Los Angeles area. I'm based here in Westlake Village with my family. I've been really fortunate to have some outstanding experiences throughout the course of my career. Over 20 years of business management experience in executive and management roles with some great companies. Here in Los Angeles, I spent a number of years with Nestle USA in their national headquarters, with Disney in their headquarter location, the toy and entertainment space. I spent some time at Jack's Pacific down in Malibu, at Uncle Milton, who used to be based here in Agoura Hills, and some other companies as well. I was fortunate enough to get my master's, my MBA at Wharton. And I'm currently the owner and president of Game Time Strategies. And primarily in that work, I'm an executive business coach. I'm also a leadership trainer and strategic advisor, and together I partner with a lot of different people, but primarily business owners and executives, ranging all the way from small companies to large corporations. And as part of that, I'm also a certified Focal Point business coach. And Focal Point, for those of you that don't know, it's kind of an elite network of over 200 executive coaches around the world. And it's part of Brian Tracy's network of businesses as well. So because of all that, it kind of provides me with a unique lens, a lot of different companies and industries that I work with, and I'll try to share with you some of the insights and thoughts that I've had and that I've used and discussed with a lot of my clients as well. And hopefully, most importantly, I hope that from today you can take away some valuable insights, ideas, and especially some actions that you can use in applying to your business right away. So as we go into this, I'm really going to focus in on 5 key principles about navigating your business through COVID-19, and I'll go through these with a number of different specifics. But these are what I would say are probably the 5 most important things to really be thinking about as to how you can look at and manage the current situation. So I want to start with an incredibly important starting point. As with all things in business and leadership, the starting point begins with mindset. And it's something we talk a lot about, that I talk a lot about with my clients, and especially right now, because the reality is we all know the world has changed in unprecedented ways. And it's a situation where we've never in our lifetimes seen something like this, and hopefully, God willing, we won't see it again. So the question then becomes, how do we get out of this situation? If you relate to this visual, just give me a thumbs up if you can relate to that, right? Feeling a little bit boxed in, and it's literally, right, with the stay-at-home order, but it's also mentally, right, with the challenges and the emotions of the current situation. And this is, you're not alone. We're all sharing this in some form or capacity. So it kind of comes to the question, how can you manage your mindset, and why is that important? you know, your mindset will impact everything that you do and the results that you get. And it's not just you. As a leader, as a business owner, it affects everyone around you, your circle, your team, your customers, your partners. And leadership, as we know, is really about bringing about the best in yourself and in others. And so providing the right leadership example as well from a mindset point of view becomes really important, and it really rubs off on those around you. So I want to actually start by sharing with you a concept that comes from, for those of you who have ever read The Oz Principle. It's a great book that talks about individual and organizational accountability. And in fact, it's kind of funny because they use some of the characters from The Wizard of Oz as an example of some of the differences of different types of people within organizations and how it relates to this notion of accountability. But it's important for a couple reasons, and I'll speak about it as we go through. The concept begins with a very simple line, and of course we have two areas to this line. We have above the line, and we have below the line. And of course, we're going to start below the line, and I'm going to show you an image of somebody who, and actually I don't know if I can. Let's see. I was going to ask you to input some things in the chat box, and Gary, I don't actually have visibility to the chat box for some reason. So if you
can you, at the bottom of the window, you might have a control for chat that you can click on. You might be able to toggle it. You should be able to.
Let's take a look here, because I'm sharing my screen. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Hold on. Chat. Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to actually move this
awesome
on a different screen. Thank you. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to show you a picture, and I want you to just give me some adjectives. Type me some adjectives in the chat box to describe this gentleman. Give me some adjectives. Let's see a few adjectives here. Down, depressed. Yeah, mopey. That's a good one. Exhausted, poor posture. Is that a chiropractor in the building? Oh yeah, okay. I mean, so a lot of good comments here. You know, this is someone that we say bends, right? He's got kind of a slouch position. Yeah, he's broken. He's not feeling very well. There are a lot of people right now that are feeling this way, and it's important to identify what are some of the characteristics of this feeling. And BENS actually stands for something with this principle that we talk about, and it starts with the B. B stands for blame. People that live below the line are often looking for blame. They describe things based on others and what others do or what others don't do as the reason for things that are happening. The E stands for excuses. The excuses that are often made. Well, my business is struggling because of, well, it's because of COVID-19, obviously, or it's because of our customers aren't paying us, or because we have suppliers that aren't delivering goods when they were supposed to be, or, you know, any number of reasons, right? Excuses. And look, these are all legitimate, reasonable excuses of situations that are happening right now. The N stands for negative. People that live below the line are very much focused on the negative. In fact, it consumes them on quite a regular basis. And it takes a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy expended in this space as well. The D stands for denial. A lot of people in this situation are often deny the situation of what's going on. They might choose to bury their head in the sand and not see what's happening as a result. And of course, we all know that's not a great strategy for running a business. And the last idea is S. The S stands for scarcity. Scarcity, of course, is a concept that comes from economics, and it's this notion that that basically, you know, if somebody else is winning or succeeding, then we're not, because there are scarce and limited resources in the world, and clearly what others get takes away from what I get. And so it's kind of a you or me type mentality as opposed to a we type mentality that we can all win together. Do you know people that feel like this? Have you ever felt like this? How many of you are feeling like this at certain times? Yeah? Do you know some people maybe that you meet with on a regular basis? It could be employees of yours, it could be partners of yours, it could be vendors of yours that feel this way, right? Very common. All right, we've got another picture here. Give me a couple words to describe this gentleman? Go ahead, type it in the box there. Oh, I like the Z with zero sum. That's good. All right, so this guy is, yeah, he's super, he's successful, he's exhilarated. Yeah, he's definitely, he's having a great day, right? Confident, possibly overconfident. Yeah, that could be. Energetic, optimistic. Yeah, all these things. Great. So we say that this gentleman, he has nothing to prove. Nothing to prove. And what does the prove stand for? Well, the P is proactive. This is someone that proactively goes after the things that they're trying to achieve in their life, in their business, right? They don't wait for things to happen or come to them. They go after them. The R stands for responsible. They take responsibility for everything that happens in their business. Whether or not it is their fault, they're taking responsibility for it. And in fact, it kind of leads to the idea, the O, which is this notion of ownership. If my business fails, if something doesn't work for me and my business, it's my fault. It's not anybody else's fault. It's my fault because I'm the business leader, I'm the business owner, and I have the ability to do something about it. And the things that I decide to do is my choice. The V stands for vision. The ability to have vision beyond where you are today, right? They're always looking down the road. They're not seeing just today, they're seeing tomorrow, and they're seeing the possibilities for that and how to get there. And the last idea, the E, is for excellence. People who are committed to quality and excellence in everything that they do, because it's a representation of them, it's a representation of their business, all of these things that come into play. So as we look at this, we have a name for these people. Who's above the line? What do we call them? Anybody know? Well, we call them the victors. The victors, because they have nothing to prove. They're out for victory. They're out to succeed and to drive their business. And then below the line, we have the victims. The victims who are blaming and looking at excuses and negative thoughts, all of these kinds of things. Another description for the victims might be what we would call the failure magnets. Well, why do we use the word failure magnets? Have you been around people who constantly live below the line? How does that make you feel? What does it do to the people around you, to the people in your organization, to the people that you're partnering with, right? It's a magnet. It's this idea of like misery likes company, right? It's that kind of notion. Whereas above the line, it's the same idea, but in a different way. These are the success attractors. These are the people that bring in success and a successful mindset. And actually inspire others to be better than they are and to get to better goals and better achievements for them in their business. So for the victims, everything is a problem, right? But for the victors, it's about opportunities, right? And what's the difference? It's mindset. It's the way that they're looking at the situation. It's the attitude with which they bring to the situation. And so we call the victors the winners. And who are the victims? Well, we don't like to call them losers because that's not right. We'll call them the whiners instead. So the question becomes, where are you? Most of the day, where are you today? Where are you this morning? Where were you yesterday? Where were you last week? What about the people in your organization? Where are they right now? Are they above the line or are they below the line? Do we live above and below the line? Absolutely. The question is, where do we live most of the time? And how can we control and manage that to make sure that we're moving things forward in a positive way for our business? Because remember, it's the leader that sets the example. And so we can choose, are we going to be above the line or are we going to be below the line? And just this very simple idea, I got to tell you, there are businesses I work with where at the start of COVID-19, they were so below the line, they couldn't see the line above. It's so important to be able to see above the line and to change your mindset and to mentally, daily talk yourself to getting there. It makes a huge difference. All right, here's a little test for you. Put into the chat box, what do you read? What are the first words that you read as you look at this? If it was a sentence, what would the sentence be? Type it in real quick. Okay. Yes, so we're getting a little different point of view, right? So some of you are seeing this one, right? Opportunity is nowhere. And look, it's understandable, right? Given the situation and the things that are happening in the world, it's very common to see that. But many of you also said, opportunity is now here. What's the difference? Well, it's very simple. As we said, it's mindset. We see what we want to see, right? We look for what we want to look for. And so it goes back to the question, are you a victor or are you a victim? And how are you using that to move forward as a leader in your business? Some of you may know Milton Berle, famous comedian and actor, a great quote from him. If opportunity doesn't knock, well, just build a door, right? Why not? Build that door, create that door. You have the ability to do it, but only you. Brian Tracy also has a book called The Psychology of Achievement, and this is a very well-known book. It's been around for many, many years, but there's a basic concept that comes from it. It's called the law of self-control, and it speaks to mindset, but the basic takeaway, the basic notion of this is what you think, and as a result, what you believe, you become. What you think, and as a result, what you believe, you become. Do you believe it? Well, the concept is pretty simple. It starts with this mountain, and at the bottom of this mountain is the foundation of your thinking, of the things that form your mindset. And the top of the mountain is basically the results that you could potentially get to. The question is, what's at the top of the mountain for you in your business? Well, it starts at a very basic level. It starts at the bottom with your thoughts, or what we call our self-talk. Some of you may know, or some of you may not, we are constantly talking to ourselves, right? On average, between 150 to 300 words a minute, close to 50,000 thoughts per day. We are by far the biggest influence on our thoughts and our own psychology than any influence around us, than anything we read or hear from anyone. Well, what happens with that? If we're saying that we're going to succeed, if we're saying we can do something, if we're saying we can generate more revenue or drive more profitability or have a more successful business, then we believe it. Conversely, if we don't, if we think the other side, then it leads to negative beliefs. So our thoughts fundamentally drive our beliefs. Our daily self-talk drives our feelings and the beliefs that we have about what we can accomplish. And of course, what do we do with those beliefs? Well, as business owners, as professionals, we take action. And so the actions that we choose are based on our beliefs. If we don't think we can do something, then we're not going to do it. If we think we can, then we're going to go for it with full force. And of course, from those actions ultimately leads to the top of the mountain, which is the results. And so what's the basic conclusion here? The basic idea, the results that we drive in our business, and this isn't just during COVID-19, this is every day, right? The results we drive starts at the very basic bottom level with our own thoughts and self-talk every day. So the question is, what can you do every day to help drive and improve the self-talk? What are you saying to yourself? What kinds of comments and beliefs are you exposing through your daily self-talk, and how do you change that? And I have a lot of clients that do many different things, whether it be reading something first thing in the morning, certain quotes. I've got things popping up on their phone, reading their vision statement every morning before they get started, whatever it is that gets the right talk going in your brain to get you ready for the day. Because the number one obstacle to you accomplishing your goal, frankly, is you. And it's something that that has been talked about so much in this idea of the self-achievement psychology. So you got to control your thoughts. You got to actively manage your thoughts. And that's a different idea because a lot of people are not actively managing or even conscious of their thoughts. Fully 95% of your emotions, positive or negative, are determined by how you talk to yourself on a minute-by-minute basis. So again, this idea very simply is you are not what you think you are, but what you think you are. right? It's this idea that our thoughts, our thinking, that's what's going to drive us. So as we look at today's situation, we know we're in a storm, one unlike we've ever seen, but from great challenge comes great learning. How are you building your mindset on a daily basis? What are the tools and techniques you're using? And what about you and your team? How are you sharing and exposing that to your team so that they also have a strong mindset to weather the storm and what comes after the storm? Because we all know that, like any storm, this too will pass. And so what about preparing now for after the storm? All right, so that's just a quick section on mindset, and it's something that is so important to leadership. We talk a lot about it in leadership development, and I hope that spurs some ideas on things that you can do with your own mindset and being honest with yourself about where you are and where you can be. Yes, I think I've got a question from Ray. Oh, you're on mute, Ray.
Yeah, make sure I'm unmuted. You were saying that, I missed the first number, 100,000 something, but you were saying that we have 50,000 thoughts per day?
Yes, correct.
What was the first number?
The first was on a minute basis, over 150 thoughts per words per minute, basically, that we're talking to ourselves. So the level of activity that we are speaking to ourselves is at an enormous level that we don't even realize.
Is that general knowledge, or is it from a specific source?
There are a few, and I'm sorry I don't have that with me here, but there are a couple of studies that we've referenced specifically that speak to that idea. Yeah, and I can get that to you if you're interested. Yeah.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to the second principle, and this is the notion of focus and anticipate. Focus and anticipate. There are a few things that we know for sure, but one thing we know is we can expect the unexpected. It's going to be a roller coaster ride, and it already is, and some of you are probably a little nauseous from the ride already. But some of you might actually like a good roller coaster ride. Maybe not in your business, but certainly at the theme park. The question becomes, how do you approach change? And do you fear change, or do you change fear? You know, fear is an interesting thing because it creates adrenaline. And adrenaline causes this natural instinct in our own bodies for a fight or a flight response, right? A lot of performers would tell you that they turn that adrenaline from being fear into energy that leads to some of the most positive performances that they can give. How do you fuel that adrenaline into focus? How do you change fear into focus? And that really becomes the goal of these times, is to figure that out for yourself. And part of it is to ask yourself some important questions. And I can get your chat boxes ready here. I want to ask you, when you think about the current situation, what are the things you can't control? What are the things you cannot control? Just type a few ideas into the chat box. Yeah, government edicts, yeah, the duration of the crisis, other people, when it will be safe again. Absolutely. These are all great things, and no question about it. And here are some of the ideas that I put down, very similar to what you said, right? The overall spread of the virus, sickness of others, stay-at-home order, the media, what the government is doing, what others are doing, what their actions and emotions are. These are things that we cannot control. But now, most importantly, what are the things you can control? Give me some ideas on the things that you can control right now. Attitude, yes, absolutely. My health routine, yes, and health is so important right now. Attitude and effort, yep. Local variables, okay. How I plan and strategize, yeah, these are all great ideas. So I put it very simply as the following, and this is not an exhaustive list, but very simply put, I can control my money, what I do with it, right? My time, how I'm spending it, my team, what I'm doing with them, my relationships with partners and customers, my thoughts and mindset, as many of you said, and my plan, the plan for my business. And the basic idea here is very simple. Focus on what you can control, not on what you can't. There is so much wasted time and energy put into the things we cannot control. One of my great clients at the start of this was so focused on the things he couldn't control that he almost just wanted to put the business on hold. But we know that that's the last thing that you can do and want to do right now, is to put your business on hold, right? So if you can focus on the things that you can control, use that to energize and drive you in the things that you do for your business. And from there, we want to ask a very important question. What are all the risks and challenges to your business that you can anticipate in the next 6 months? All the possible risks and challenges. And I'm not just talking about what's happening right this second. I'm talking 2 months from now, 3 months from now. You're all smart people. You're all running businesses, right? Get creative. Think about all the possible things, no matter how good or bad they may be. In this case, the risks and challenges, and write them down. Get that shock value out right now. Put them down, right? And then from there, we can start to list some possibilities. So what are the things that could happen? Give me some ideas in the chat box. What are some of the things, what are the worst risks and challenges that you can think of for your business right now? Okay, yep, losing all of your income, cash flow, absolutely. Finances for sure. Yeah, the health, right? Do I die? Does my family? I mean, that's real. Hopefully not for most of us. Yeah, technology changes. Yeah, the industry could change. Absolutely. So here are some ideas. Things that a lot of you probably have already thought about. Customers or suppliers can't or won't pay. Right? They're struggling financially. They can't pay you. So what do? Less business. So less revenue. Some of you said loss of income entirely. That could be the case. Maybe your employees get sick. What would happen tomorrow if one of your employees got sick? What would you do about it? What if you got sick, right? What would you do right now with your business? What if the government, well, this is already happening for many of you, the government temporarily shuts down your business, right? Or costs of goods might skyrocket because now supplies are so much more expensive because of all the limitations and things going on with business. And as you know, there's no in-person business or meetings. Well, what's the impact of that? What does that mean for you and your business? And you could even have customers or partners go out of business, right? What if some of your customers or partners went out of business, did not survive this situation, okay? So it's good to list all of these things out. And when you do it at first, it might be a little bit traumatic to see all these things on paper, but then the most important thing happens. From there, you start to say, well, what if that were to occur? What would I do? How will you respond to each one of these things? What I call the if-then scenarios, or what some would call scenario analysis, right? This idea of already thinking through all the possibilities and what you would do. Now, the thing is, you can anticipate these things, and you can probably think of some pretty important and creative ways that you can respond to these things. But a funny thing happens when you actually go through this process. Your level of anxiety starts to decrease. The shock value of these risks and challenges are not there because you've already thought about them. And when these things actually might come to fruition for you, whether it's now or in the future, you've already prepared for it. You've already thought about what you're going to do. And you've put those best things into practice. This is really important. And I had another client of mine that did this exactly. And boy, he went from, as he described it, being in the pits to being at the top of his game, because he knew what could come and what he was going to do about it, and he was ready for it. He was prepared. This is who you want to be, right? You want to be the calm in the storm. You know the storm is coming, or you're in it right now. You know things can happen. You've already thought through what those things could be, and you've already created your if-then scenarios, focusing and anticipating on what could happen and what you're going to do about it. That's the second principle. The third one, probably no surprise to all of you, is this idea of projecting and planning your finances. Finances is so important right now. And in fact, it's one of the biggest determinants that will determine who will succeed during these times. So how well have you prepared financially for this turmoil? And of course, most importantly, as a starting point, is cash flow. We all know that cash flow is king. In times of crisis, you need to know what your cash flow situation is. And think about the following questions. What expenses can you minimize, eliminate, or defer right now? Do you really need all those things in your expense bucket? What is so critical now, this month, next month? There might be things you can eliminate entirely or things you can defer. There's a lot of opportunities now to defer payments, right? With certain suppliers, maybe who you're paying your lease rent to or whatever it might be. Think about your receivables, right? Receivables is the inflow of your cash. What receivables will you receive this month, and how can you convert the others? You know, there might be some receivables that you can convert quicker than you think. Think about your best partners. Think about the ones that also need you to succeed in order for them to succeed. How can you talk and interact with them and convert some of those receivables? And which receivables do you know right off the bat you're not going to get? And resign yourself to knowing that you're not going to get them, maybe at all. What are all the sources of funding that you can access? All of them, right? You may have a line of credit on your business. You might have your own business funds. You might have your own personal funds. Of course, there's all kinds of government support out there right now, which I'm sure you have all looked into or read about. Take advantage of those things. These are once-in-a-lifetime opportunities in many situations. And your bank. What can your bank do for you? If you have a relationship there, what are all the things they can do that are outside of and beyond some of this government support? Look at every possible thing, because again, cash flow is most important and what will help you to survive during this time. And lastly, what new jobs and customers should you pursue, and how are they going to impact your cash flow? You know, a lot of times people say, I just need more business. I just need more business. Yeah, but what's the cash flow impact of that? If I take on a new job today, how much money do I have to put up front right now to do that job? And how is that going to impact my cash flow situation? Not everybody has thought about that. There are some jobs that require very little cash flow up front, and there are others that require a lot. That might actually factor into the types of businesses you want to do business with during this crisis, and the types that maybe you don't want to do business with, or you need to put on hold because you don't have the cash flow to support it. Then we turn to financial scenarios. Financial scenarios are so important. It's kind of goes back to what I was saying in the last principle of focusing and anticipating, but doing it around financials. So how many of you have actually done projected income statements by month for the next 3 to 6 months in your business? By show of hands, anybody? All right, we got one. Good job, Bill. Most business owners have not. And this is something that, yes, I understand there are things that are unpredictable. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you know enough to create a projected starting point of what your income statement could be, what your revenues and your expenses are. Better to do that with what information you have today than not at all. And similarly, projected cash flow statements. Cash flow statements really should be projected for the next 3 months by week. And this is not as much work as you think. I have a very simple spreadsheet that I use with my clients that I give to them, and I say, okay, here it is. 1 tab for each month, simple information. Put in as best as you can, whether it's you or someone on your team. Put in the best information you can. And man, it is eye-opening when you see it, when you do it. And don't just outline one scenario. Outline a few scenarios. So the best, the average, the worst case. Give me 3 scenarios, or give yourself 3 scenarios. And from that, what are the key learnings and implications for your business? Again, this is scenario planning at its best, but it's tied around your finances. And it really helps to guide you about what you really need to do and what you're okay with, right? And so the summary for this section of what should I know, some key questions to be thinking about. First, what is your nut, right? What are those mandatory expenses that you have to pay each month if you stay in business? Know what that is. What is your break-even revenue amount against that? How much revenue would you need to cover it? How many weeks coverage would your current cash flow provide, i.e. your burn rate? If you had no additional income right now, how many weeks coverage do you have? And what is that projected cash flow, as we said, for each of the next 3 months? And it ties back to what we were talking about previously, as well as the income statement. And from all of that, the key thing is to say, what's the outcome of that? What are the goals for this month? How much revenue do I need to make this month? And use that as a laser focus to say, that is my goal. Same with expenses. What can I spend this month? Budget for yourself. What's the profitability I can generate this month or next month? When you have those scenarios, you're empowered with information, and information that drives your actions, knowing what is realistic and what is not realistic in your business. So we all have a choice. The question is, which choice do we choose? Are we going to have our head in the sand, not knowing what those financial scenarios are, the cash flow, the income statements? Are we going to play in this way? Or are we going to go into it with eyes wide open, knowing what's ahead of us, knowing what the numbers are, and giving us the opportunity right now to think about ways that we can manage through it? If you truly know your situation, you can do something about it. But first, you got to know it. And that's where financial planning is so important. Okay. So that's the financial section. Any questions on that one? We could talk for hours about finances, but hopefully that gives you a few things just to be thinking about. Now let's go into the next page, which is about finding the opportunities. You know, like we talked about, when you're in the midst of a crisis, it's very easy to get lost in the fog. Very easy. In fact, that's where most of us are on a daily basis. But with crisis comes opportunity for those who seek it. So the question is, how do we see it from a different view? How do we get above the fog and see the possibilities beyond where we are today? You know, some of the greatest companies from the last recession, some of the greatest companies started during that recession. Companies like Uber and Groupon and Instagram, WhatsApp, some of these, they started during the last recession, right? So they were able to see above the clouds and figure out a way to make a new opportunity as opposed to dwelling on where they are today. So are you looking for business opportunities in your business? What are all the potential opportunities for your business during and after COVID-19? Now is the time to really get strategic and think about all of these possibilities. You can use techniques like we do in coaching called mindstorming, where you can find new, creative, and different ways to identify these opportunities. And to help kickstart your thinking, I have some questions that I want to take you through. And as you go through these questions, I want you to be thinking about, yeah, which of these questions could create an opportunity for my business? Okay. So the first one, think about customers. Things are changing, their needs are changing. How can I uniquely help and serve my customers during this time? There are a lot of needs right now, but some of the ones that come to mind: connection. People need to be connected right now. Comfort. They want to be comforted. Security, right? Financial security, personal security, small rewards. A lot of us need small rewards in this time and situation. Our health, physical, mental, emotional. The essentials, right? What are the essentials I need right now to get through these times? Home-based services, right? Everything has to come home now because that's where we all are. So what are those opportunities there? How can your brand help with those needs? Right? How can you align yourself and help with those needs? And from that, what are some of the new products and services and even new revenue sources that you can create from those needs? It could be a short-term idea, or it could be something that becomes a longer part of your business model. And we've all seen it, right? Businesses are having to get creative, right? Restaurants are now selling groceries and alcohol to go. Manufacturers are now selling masks, even if they weren't making that type of product before. Gym trainers are selling online workouts when for some have never done it before. I mean, there are lots of ways to capitalize on it, but it starts with understanding the needs and how it aligns with your brand, and then translating that into products and services that you could potentially bring that maybe you never even thought of. Everybody's talking about the online world and how it's exploding right now. Home is the daily headquarters, and internet usage are at all-time highs. And there's all kinds of studies out there that speak to this in terms of total usage, both laptop computers, mobile phones, tablet devices, so on and so forth, right? Consider Zoom, right? This little company that we're now using right now for this meeting. You know, in December, do you know how many daily meeting participants they had on average in December? 10 million. That's pretty good. You know how many they had last week on average? 300 million. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a pretty nice growth. I like that, right? But it also shows how quickly the transformation to digital and online is happening, forced by this pandemic. So what does that mean for you? What does it mean in terms of online services, in terms of e-commerce, in terms of meetings and the way that you interact with your customers? In terms of education, right? Google Classroom is now all over the place with our kids and families. Even the consumption of news and the way of communicating about your brand. So think about that and figure out ways that you can create new revenue streams. And by the way, this digital transformation, it's not like it wasn't happening before. It's just somebody accelerated it, right, with the COVID-19. So now more than ever, you have to be thinking about digital transformation for your business. And it really doesn't matter what business you're in. How can I use this time to nurture and grow business development opportunities? We all know that business development takes time, energy, and responsiveness. A lot of our clients actually have more time than they normally do. They're probably working from home, probably working less hours. It depends on the business. Some are not that way, but a lot are. They may even be rethinking the way they do their business or even who they do their business with. So what is your business development strategy? Who are you really focused on? And pick up the phone. It's a great time to connect with people. And obviously you have to match the tone to the situation, right? It has to make sense and you have to be true to your brand and to the situation. But business development, this is a chance and an opportunity to put more time into this. And then as you think about building your revenue, there's a formula, something that Brian Tracy uses called the way to wealth, and it speaks about the levers of revenue growth. And there are 4 key levers to this. The first two speak a lot to business development, as I talked about on the last slide, but this idea of how many leads do you have each week coming in, and how effective are you at converting those leads? Okay, that's really the key formula for you in determining how many new customers you're getting. So if you're driving your leads and converting them more effectively, you're going to get more customers. It's as simple as that. But also, how do you get more business from your current customers? If you were to get $10 more, $50 more, $100 more from every customer, what would the impact be on your business? So how do you drive up the average sales per transaction per customer, or the frequency of those sales per period? Are they buying monthly, weekly? And what would that have as a revenue impact? Think about strategies that would drive all 4 of these levers. And it's not just new clients and new products and services, it's also your current customers. In fact, they are probably your best source of revenue growth because they're the easiest source. They already know, like, and trust you. They're already working with you, right? Another question is, what are the businesses and industries that are growing during COVID-19? It's very easy to say, oh, this customer's not growing, or I rely on the health, I rely on the travel and leisure industry. So that's, I can't succeed right now because that's my industry, or that's the industry that I'm focused on. Yeah, and that's true. But what are the industries right now that are growing? Like online retail and home-based delivery services and digital and IT services, healthcare, cleaning and disinfectant products, protection products, home entertainment, right? Netflix got another 16 million users last month. Not a bad month of increase, right? Social media, video gaming, so many things. What are the businesses that are growing, and how do you align your business? How do you align your business to that? And how do you partner with or find ways to bring those businesses in? And what about your competitors? Do you have competitors that might be going out of business? Do you have competitors that might be losing customers because they can't service them effectively? So what are you going to do about it? What are the opportunities for you in your business? What customers can you actually serve better, that now is the right time to talk with these customers? If a customer is going out of business, talk to them. Maybe there's a partnership opportunity. Maybe you even buy them. I mean, who knows? It depends on the size of your company and your goals. But now there will be some unprecedented opportunities with your competitors that are happening right now, that if you're looking for them, could create major opportunity. And how do you use the time to strengthen relationships with clients and partners? Your clients and partners are the most valuable people that you have. How do you strengthen and build on that? And your employees, right? They're just wondering if they're going to have a job after this, right? How do you partner up with them? How do you help to remove their stress and anxiety and actually strengthen the loyalty and connection that you have with your team? This is the time that really you can show who you are as a business leader. And how do you attract more people to your brand? We talked about social media consumption is at an all-time high. People are looking and reading and doing things they don't normally do. What can you say about your brand? How can you be part of that conversation? And if your work is slow with customers, well, what about inside the company? What can you do now that will lead to some new and better systems, better processes? You know, if you want to scale your business, one of the key things is being able to get it to be a well-oiled machine, an efficient production or manufacturing line. Even if you're not a manufacturing business, do things better, quicker, more efficient. What can you be focused on now to do that while you are looking for the recovery? And then, of course, this idea of how do you use your time now to plan your vision and path for the future. And that kind of leads me into this last principle, which is important, the idea of planning for the future now. Again, there's a lot of time that you may have more than you normally do. How are you using this time to move your business forward? And it starts with getting clarity on your business vision and goals. This is something we talk about a lot, that I talk about a lot with my clients. You can't hit a target you don't see. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? And let's get specific. And if we have that specific clarity, we can start to talk about ways to get there. But also know that the game is changing. So how is the game changing for you, for your industry? What is changing? What can you anticipate? And how can you actually be a driver of that change, not just responding to it? Be a first to market, be the disruptive innovator, be a leader in your industry. Think about the things that could happen and how you can be on the front end of that, and you will be handsomely rewarded. And be thinking about what that strategy and game plan is for the business recovery, but do it now. And in fact, hone in on what the top priorities are you need to focus on right now. It's very easy to get muddled with all these different things around us. Be very specific, be very clear on what you need to focus on, and focus, focus, focus. And it's not just for you, it's for your team as well, because they're also getting distracted by what's happening. And finally, how can you get your business ready for takeoff? The takeoff will come, right? The recovery will come. It's a question of when, and we don't know exactly when, but there are things you can be doing right now to prepare it for takeoff, right? And it doesn't happen at the snap of a finger. You've got to get everything loaded into the plane. You got to get everything operating, people, get the right passengers on the journey, and be ready to take flight for your business. So in sum, the 5 key principles from today's discussion is quite simple. Manage your mindset, focus, and anticipate, right? The scenario plannings, the if-then scenarios we talked about. Projecting and planning your finances, right? Income statements, cash flow statements, knowing where you need to be, what your nut is, etc. Finding the opportunities, right? Asking yourself these key questions and identifying all the best and biggest opportunities from this situation, because there are many. And planning for the future now, making the most of your time, and making sure that you're prepared and ready to go for the recovery when it comes. All right. So some of the takeaway items. I hope that you've been taking some notes, jotting down some ideas. I'd like you to, for your own benefit, I'd like you to answer your own key questions as follows. What are the 3 biggest insights from today's presentation? And give me, maybe type 1 in the box so I can kind of see some of the ones that you have. But what are some of the biggest insights from today's presentation that you're taking away? That's great. Information drive action. Yes, more positively. Simple concepts we need to be constantly reminded of. Planning. Yes, success is not an accident, right? And from this, then the question is, what are the top 3 priorities for your business in the next 3 months? and don't give me 20, then this is for yourself. What are the top 3? You only get 3. What are the big 3? And then from that, what are the 3 action steps you're going to take this week to start putting those ideas into action? If you can focus, if you can hone in on the things that matter most, the things that will have the greatest impact on your business, then from there you can start to build the path to your goals. We know that right now is an unprecedented time, but it's not like business hasn't been through challenges before, that the economy hasn't had recessions before. Yes, it's unusual. But now is the time to be building the path to your goal. And what you do with this time will determine the future. So get clear on your priorities, get clear on the actions you want to take. And in the words of Walt Disney, the way to get started is to quit talking and to begin doing. Don't just talk about it. Don't just write it down in notes. Convert those into action steps. And that will lead you through this situation and hopefully well beyond that for you and your business. All right. So there's my contact information. And I know we were also going to, I apologize, this went a little bit longer, but we're going to take some questions. So I'm going to stay on for a little while for any questions that you guys might have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or thoughts that you have.